Picture this. You've spent decades dreaming about retirement. No more alarm clocks, no more stressful meetings, no more rush hour traffic, just endless days of freedom, relaxation, and doing whatever you want. It sounds like paradise, doesn't it? But here's a shocking statistic that retirement planners don't want you to know. Nearly 70% of people say they regret how they approached retirement, and many describe the first few years as some of the most difficult and disappointing of their entire lives. How is this possible? How can the thing we've been looking forward to for decades turn into one of life's greatest disappointments? And more importantly, what can you do to make sure you're in the 30% who absolutely love their retirement years? I'm about to share the hidden truths about retirement that nobody talks about during those cheerful financial planning seminars. These aren't rosy pictures painted by investment companies. These are real, unvarnished truths about what actually happens when you stop working. If you're approaching retirement already retired, or just curious about what really happens, this video could change everything about how you think about this major life transition. What I'm about to reveal might be the most important information you'll hear about retirement planning, and it has nothing to do with your 401k balance, the great retirement myth. Let's start with the biggest myth about retirement. The idea that it's simply an extended vacation where all your problems disappear and life becomes effortlessly enjoyable. This myth is so widespread that most people never seriously consider what they'll actually do with 20 or 30 years of unstructured time. Meet David, a successful engineer who spent 35 years designing complex systems. He fantasized about retirement for years, imagining lazy mornings, golf games, and travel adventures. He had saved diligently and felt financially prepared, but 6 months after his retirement party, David was struggling with depression, feeling useless, and questioning whether he'd made a terrible mistake. What David discovered is what researchers call retirement syndrome. A combination of identity loss, purpose deficit, and social isolation that affects millions of newly retired people. The very qualities that made him successful, his drive, his problem-solving abilities, his need to feel productive, suddenly had no outlet. Now consider Patricia, who approached retirement completely differently. Instead of viewing it as an escape from work, she saw it as a transition requiring just as much planning as her career had. 2 years before retiring from her principal position, she began preparing not just financially, but emotionally. Patricia volunteered with literacy programs to test whether education work would still fulfill her. She developed hobbies that could provide structure and social connection. She and her husband had honest conversations about how their relationship would change. She even worked with a retirement coach to explore questions about identity and purpose. The difference was dramatic. While David struggled, Patricia found retirement genuinely fulfilling. The key wasn't that Patricia had more money, it was that she understood retirement as a complex life transition requiring preparation beyond just accumulating assets. Hidden truth number 1, the identity crisis nobody warns you about. The first hidden truth that catches people completely off guard is the profound identity crisis that occurs when you're no longer defined by your career. For most people, work provides much more than income. It provides identity, status, social connections, and a sense of contributing something valuable to the world. Think about how you introduce yourself. Do you say, "I'm John," or do you say, "I'm John, I'm an accountant"? Most people unconsciously define themselves by their profession, and this identity becomes so ingrained that retiring feels like losing a fundamental part of who they are. Consider Margaret, who spent 30 years as a nurse. Her career wasn't just what she did, it was who she was. She was someone who helped people, who had specialized knowledge, who was respected for her expertise. When she retired, well-meaning friends asked, "How are you enjoying not having to deal with difficult patients?" But Margaret found herself missing those very challenges. Without her nursing identity, Margaret felt like she'd lost her sense of competence and contribution. She went from being an expert people relied on to feeling like she had no particular value. This identity crisis hit her much harder than any financial adjustment, and it took nearly 3 years to rebuild a sense of self that didn't revolve around her former career. The people who navigate this successfully begin developing other sources of identity while still working. They invest in relationships, hobbies, and volunteer work that aren't tied to their profession. They think consciously about their values and what gives life meaning, beyond their paycheck and job title. Hidden truth number 2, relationships get turned upside down. The second hidden truth is how dramatically retirement affects all your important relationships, especially marriage. Couples who functioned well for decades with the structure that careers provide often struggle when they're suddenly spending 24 hours a day together. Take Tom and Linda, married 38 years before Tom's retirement. During working years, they had a comfortable rhythm. Tom handled finances. Linda managed the household, and they came together evenings and weekends. Both valued independence and had separate interests through work. When Tom retired, this balance was disrupted. Tom felt restless and began involving himself in household decisions Linda had managed for years. Linda felt her space was invaded. Tom felt rejected when Linda continued routines without including him. Neither had anticipated how much their relationship would need to change. Compare this to Robert and Helen, who spent months before retirement discussing expectations and concerns. They talked about time together versus separate interests, how responsibilities might change, and even agreed on signals for when someone needed space. They planned both shared interests and individual pursuits. Robert joined a men's hiking group. Helen continued her book club, and they found volunteer activities to do together. They approached retirement as a relationship transition requiring intention and communication. The difference was significant. Tom and Linda's marriage became stressful during what should have been relaxing years, while Robert and Helen found retirement strengthened their relationship and provided opportunities for deeper connection. Hidden truth number 3, too much freedom can be paralyzing. Here's a truth that sounds contradictory, but is absolutely real. Having unlimited freedom can actually make people less happy, not more fulfilled. This is the paradox of choice. When we have too many options and no structure, we often become paralyzed or constantly second-guess ourselves. During working years, your schedule provided structure and clear priorities. You had meetings, deadlines, problems to solve, and measures of productivity. You might have complained about constraints, but they made decisions easier and progress measurable. When you retire, this structure disappears. Every day you wake up with unlimited options, and this freedom can be overwhelming rather than liberating. Should you exercise, read, work on projects, visit friends, pursue hobbies, or just relax? Without external demands, many retirees drift aimlessly. James looked forward to retirement because he was tired of demanding schedules and constant deadlines. He fantasized about complete control over his time. But 6 months into retirement, James spent most days watching television, browsing the internet, and running minor errands. He felt busy but unproductive, occupied but unfulfilled. The unlimited freedom he'd craved became a burden because he hadn't developed systems for making intentional choices about his time. In contrast, Susan recognized she would need to create her own structure. Before retiring, she identified projects and goals: writing family history, learning to paint, volunteering, maintaining friendships. More importantly, she created systems to ensure these intentions became reality, treating retirement planning like project management. People who thrive in retirement create their own structure while maintaining flexibility. They establish routines, volunteer commitments, or learning goals that provide framework without being restrictive. If you're finding this eye-opening, please comment 3 below to let me know you're here. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos about navigating life's transitions successfully. Hidden truth number 4. Your health can decline faster than expected. One surprising truth is how quickly health can decline when work's natural structure and activity disappears. This isn't just aging, it's how dramatically lifestyle changes affect physical and mental health when people don't replace the benefits work provided. Most people don't realize how much incidental exercise and mental stimulation their careers provided. Even desk jobs involve walking to meetings, climbing stairs, dealing with challenges, and maintaining social connections. Cognitive demands of problem-solving and learning keep the brain engaged. Frank, a 62-year-old manager, retired in excellent health. During working years, he walked miles daily around his building and to meetings. His job required constant mental engagement and adapting to changes. Within 18 months of retirement, Frank had gained 25 pounds, showed early cognitive decline signs, and experienced depression for the first time. His doctor was concerned about rapidly declining cardiovascular health. Frank expected retirement to improve his health by reducing stress, not create entirely new health challenges. What he experienced was retirement health syndrome, rapid decline when people don't replace the health benefits careers provided. Dorothy approached retirement differently, understanding that maintaining health required intentional planning. She joined a gym, enrolled in challenging courses, volunteered with organizations requiring new skills, and maintained professional relationships through consulting. 2 years later, Dorothy's health markers had actually improved. The difference wasn't genetics. It was recognizing that retirement health required the same planning commitment as retirement finances. Hidden truth number 5. Money doesn't equal happiness. Perhaps the most shocking truth is that adequate financial resources don't automatically translate to happiness or satisfaction. While financial stress makes retirement difficult, many financially secure people still find retirement disappointing. The retirement industry conditions us to believe the primary challenge is accumulating enough money. But research shows non-financial factors, purpose, social connections, health, meaningful activities, are stronger predictors of satisfaction than wealth levels. Consider Richard, a successful executive who retired at 60 with more than enough money to maintain his lifestyle indefinitely. He had financial freedom to travel anywhere and buy anything. Yet 3 years into retirement, Richard was profoundly unhappy, seeing a therapist for depression and considering returning to work despite no financial need. Richard's problem wasn't money, it was meaning. He'd focused so much on accumulating wealth that he'd never considered what would give his life purpose once he stopped working. William retired from teaching with modest savings, had to be careful with spending, and couldn't afford luxury travel. But William had spent years thinking about what would give life meaning beyond his paycheck. He volunteered as a literacy tutor, mentored new teachers, maintained a garden he shared with neighbors, and stayed connected with former students. Despite far less money than Richard, William reported high life satisfaction and felt retirement was one of his best periods. The difference wasn't financial. William had developed sources of meaning and connection that weren't dependent on his bank balance. Hidden truth number 6. Loneliness hits hard and fast. One underestimated challenge is the social isolation that occurs when workplace relationships disappear. For most working people, jobs provide primary sources of daily social interaction and community connection. When this disappears, many retirees find themselves surprisingly lonely. The workplace provides weak-tie relationships, regular, pleasant interactions with colleagues, clients, and others you encounter professionally. While these seem superficial, research shows they're crucial for mental health and life satisfaction. Carol, a 64-year-old accountant, retired after 35 years with the same company. During working years, she had dozens of daily interactions and was known for her humor and expertise. 6 months after retirement, despite a loving marriage and close family relationships, Carol struggled with loneliness and depression. She missed daily validation of being helpful, casual conversations that made her feel connected, and the belonging that came from being part of a team. Her family couldn't understand her struggles. They assumed she'd be happier without work frustrations. Robert anticipated social challenges and took proactive steps. Before retiring, he joined a hiking club, started volunteering, and became more active in his church. He also maintained selected colleague relationships through informal meetings and occasional consulting. The difference was dramatic. Carol struggled with isolation, while Robert found retirement socially enriching. The key was understanding what social functions work served and making intentional plans to replace them. Social isolation has serious health consequences. Research shows it's as dangerous as smoking or obesity. The solution requires proactive planning and ongoing effort to build connections before you need them. Hidden truth number 7. The first 2 years are the hardest. The final truth nobody tells you is that the first 2 years are typically most difficult, even for well-prepared people. This transition involves grieving your working identity, adjusting to new routines, and figuring out what makes you happy with unlimited choices. Understanding this is crucial because many assume that if retirement feels difficult at first, they've made a mistake. They may make hasty decisions, returning to work prematurely or becoming pessimistic when they actually need patience and realistic expectations. Think of retirement like any major life transition. Getting married, having children, starting a new career. These changes are generally positive but still involve stress and adjustment periods. Retirement is no different, yet people expect it to be immediately fulfilling. Janet and Paul both found their first retirement year surprisingly difficult despite careful planning. Janet struggled with feeling useless. Paul felt restless despite having plenty of activities. Both questioned whether they'd retired too early and worried something was wrong with their approach. What they experienced was completely normal, the psychological adjustment most people go through. Research shows retirement typically follows a pattern: initial excitement, followed by disenchantment and adjustment challenges, eventually leading to re-establishment of satisfying new routines. Janet and Paul found their second year significantly better, and by their third year, both reported high satisfaction. The key was understanding that adjustment takes time and being willing to experiment with different approaches. This doesn't mean expect misery for 2 years. Many people find aspects immediately enjoyable. But be realistic that major transitions involve challenges, even when the overall change is positive. What the successful 30% do differently. Now let's explore what the 30% who absolutely love retirement do differently. These people find retirement genuinely fulfilling and energizing, often describing it as their best life period. What sets them apart isn't luck or superior finances. but specific approaches anyone can adopt. First, successful retirees start planning emotional and psychological aspects years before stopping work. They don't just focus on financial accumulation, they actively explore questions about identity, purpose, and meaning. They might work with retirement coaches or engage in structured self-reflection about their post-career life vision. They begin experimenting with retirement activities while still working. They volunteer with interesting organizations, take classes in subjects they want to explore, or develop hobbies that could become more central. This allows testing what brings satisfaction, rather than making assumptions. Second, they understand retirement isn't an ending. It's a transition to a new life phase requiring just as much intention as their career did. They approach it as an active choice about spending time and energy, not passive withdrawal from productive life. They often develop a portfolio lifestyle, combining activities that might include some paid work, volunteer activities, learning opportunities, creative pursuits, and social involvement. This provides variety, multiple satisfaction sources, and flexibility to adjust based on changing interests. Third, successful retirees maintain social connections proactively. They understand workplace relationships need replacement with community involvement. They join organizations, maintain friendships, develop new relationships, and often become more community involved than during working years. Fourth, they create structure without rigidity. They develop routines and commitments, providing daily framework while maintaining enough flexibility to take advantage of retirement freedom. They establish regular exercise routines, volunteer schedules, or learning goals that provide purpose without feeling restrictive. Finally, successful retirees approach retirement with a growth mindset. They view it as an opportunity to continue learning, growing, and contributing, rather than as a reward for past accomplishments. They remain curious, open to new experiences, and willing to experiment. Your action plan for retirement success. Based on what we know about challenges and opportunities, here's how you can join the successful 30%. Start with a retirement audit of your current life. Identify what work aspects provide meaning, structure, social connection, and identity. Be specific. Is it problem-solving, helping others, being seen as an expert, daily interactions, or contributing to something larger? You'll need ways to experience these satisfying elements in retirement. Begin experimenting with potential activities while still working. Don't wait to discover what you enjoy. Try volunteering, take classes, develop hobbies, join groups. This experimentation helps you make informed decisions about retirement time. Create a phased retirement plan rather than abrupt transition if possible. Many benefit from gradually reducing work commitment over several years. This might involve part-time status, consulting, or project-based work utilizing your expertise while providing flexibility. Address relationship aspects proactively. Have explicit conversations with your spouse about expectations and concerns. Discuss balancing togetherness with individual interests, how responsibilities might change, and handling potential conflicts. Develop a social connection strategy beyond immediate family. Identify multiple ways to maintain interaction, intellectual stimulation, and community involvement through volunteer work, education, hobby groups, or professional associations. Create accountability systems for retirement goals. Without work's external structure, good intentions often remain just intentions. Schedule regular activities, make organizational commitments, or find accountability partners. Plan for adjustment period realistically. Expect the first 2 years may involve challenges and experimentation. Don't make major decisions during this period. View it as learning time for what works in your new structure. The bottom line, your choice to make. As we conclude, understand the goal isn't to scare you away from retirement or suggest it's inevitably difficult. The goal is helping you approach retirement with realistic expectations and effective strategies, so you can be among the 30% who find it genuinely fulfilling. Retirement can absolutely be one of your most satisfying life periods. It offers opportunities for growth, contribution, and experiences that may not have been possible during career-focused years. You have potential for greater time control, deeper relationships, exploration of neglected interests, and meaningful community contribution. The key is understanding that retirement success requires the same planning level that career success required. Just as you didn't stumble into a successful career accidentally, you won't stumble into fulfilling retirement accidentally. It requires thought, preparation, and ongoing adjustments based on what you learn about yourself. The hidden truths we've discussed, identity challenges, relationship changes, health considerations, social isolation risks, and adjustment periods, aren't meant to discourage you. They're meant to help you prepare for and navigate these challenges successfully, so they don't derail your satisfaction. Remember, the 70% who report regrets aren't unhappy because retirement is inherently problematic. They're struggling because they approach this major transition with unrealistic expectations and inadequate preparation beyond financial aspects. You now have knowledge to approach retirement differently. Your retirement years have potential to be among your most fulfilling and impactful. You have decades of experience, new skills, and wisdom that can contribute tremendously to family and community. You have opportunity to pursue interests, develop relationships, and engage in activities that may have been impossible during career-focused years. The choice is yours. You can approach retirement as an ending, withdrawal from productive, meaningful life, or as a transition to a new chapter offering different but equally valuable opportunities for growth, contribution, and satisfaction. If this video provided valuable insights, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content about navigating life's major transitions successfully. Share with friends or family approaching retirement. You might help them avoid years of regret and create the retirement they actually want. Most importantly, don't let these insights remain just interesting information. Use them to create a retirement plan addressing not just financial needs, but emotional, social, and psychological needs as well. Your future self will thank you for planning for all aspects of this important transition. Thank you for watching, and remember, retirement can be the beginning of your best years, but only if you plan for success intentionally and realistically. Your journey to fulfilling retirement starts with the planning you do today.